So in Illustrator, when you're making something abstract, I'd recommend going into your layers window here. I'm going to show you something cool, and I'm going to go to the symbols palette if it's not open up here. So there's symbols. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a quick symbol right away. I have no idea what I want to make. Okay, so you can be tinkering around making a little logo or icon, basically a symbol. Here's a cool tip. I'm going to select all these things here. So I now have selected all those. I could go down in here. I can see all of the paths and all the shapes have been selected. Then I can just drag this in to the symbols area here. And I can call this test. And go OK. And then you can see that my test symbol has now here. It's become a symbol. So this allows me to do a ton of cool things. I'm going to turn this layer off here. I'm going to make a new layer. And I'm going to call this symbol test. Over here in your toolbar in Illustrator, there's this symbol area that you can play around with. If I select this symbol and go to my symbol spray, I can start spraying the symbol on there. And then there's all these modifiers here. So I can go to the symbol shift tool, start shifting the symbol around. This works great for grass. Let's say if you wanted to make grass and spray grass, you can make a blade of grass and spray it somewhere. There's also this other area here. Check out all these little warp tools. So I'm going to tear that off quickly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this off, and I'm going to go shape test. And I'm going to make a quick shape here. So add some points to that star. And now go check out what some of these do. And you can see you can twirl things right in here. If you double click on the warp area here, you can change the intensity. So if it's twirling it too much, I could lower that intensity to say 15%. And then that will do it less intense. It's not going to twirl it quite so much. So there's some cool ways right in here that you could start with the puckers or the twirls and that, make a shape and very quickly create an abstract shape in no time. I think of these as warp tools. That you make a basic shape and you can warp them. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a blend shape. If you want to blend shapes together, this is a very popular design technique out there now on the internet. So I'm going to go and I'm going to make an ellipse shape right here. I'm going to color that in with blue. Then I'm going to make a star shape. And I color that star in yellow. Remember, at any time, you can go to these things and you can shift them around. If you want the star behind, you can drag the paths around inside of your layers area here. I want that in front. I'm going to shift select both of these so they're both selected. Under the object area, there's this blend tool. You want to go blend options. Inside of blend options, there's smooth color and specific steps. I'm going to get into specific steps in a minute, but the smooth color, you just go OK. Now you've got the blend set to smooth color, OK. You go back into blend, and then you say make. And then it makes this blend area here. At any time, you can go and start modifying these shapes, and it will blend them different. And I can go and change the star after. You can even go, let's open up the pen tool here. I can start deleting anchor points if I don't want that anchor point. I can start modifying the shape at any time. You can go back into the blend tool. At any time, you can release it. If you don't want it, you can release it. If that is easier for you. Or you can just go back to it and then say make, and there's your blend. So I'm going to turn that off. I'm going to go back into my pen tool. You can do this with the brush tool if you want. So I'm going to go into the pen. I'm not going to fill that. I'm going to put a stroke on the pen. I'm going to modify the stroke just a little bit to make it a little more dramatic. So I've got my stroke the way I want there. I'm going to copy and paste the stroke. So I'm going to open up the layers here. So there's the stroke. Copy, paste. There it is again. I'm going to offset it. I'm going to make this a slightly different color. There we go. I'm going to copy, paste that again. Maybe go for a completely different color this time around. And go, OK. So have these things together here as strokes. Select all of those. So you can see they're all selected over here. Go back up into the object and blend area. There's your blend options. You could keep it on smooth color, which I'm going to do really quickly. Go OK, object, blend, make. And there it makes that color there. Yeah, undo that. What I want to show you, though, is the specific steps. So I'm going to go back to blend, blend options. I'm going to go specific steps. You can put 100 steps. You can put 50 steps in there if you want. If I go 50, let's see what happens here. Makes that really smooth. Okay, that looks very similar to smooth. But here's the magic, the cool part of using specific steps. I'm going to try 5 steps. Okay, object. There you go. So now 5 steps work there really well. So you can see that it now makes almost like a gradation of the lines for me, where I don't have to go figure that out. Does really cool things like that. So then if I'm working away on my abstract design, I'll pull this up here. I'm going to duplicate that, move this down. I'm going to zoom in here, select this, go to blend and release this, and then I'm going to change these colors. Change that to red, change that to this color. And I could shift select all those again, go back up to object, blend, and make. I can go in there and I can modify that relatively quickly. As I was showing you before, you can go to the white arrow tool, start clicking your paths, and you can start modifying and changing your line work. So then if I go back to this, you can see I've got this shape that I can start moving around from my abstract design and putting that in place if I want to. I could drag this on top of everything if I prefer it to be in front. Also, you can lower the transparency of an object. So remember, you can go up to Window, Transparency. You can try changing even the blending mode, the opacity. You can be having all sorts of interesting abstract things going on. So the other neat thing about this, let's say if I select this, I go up into Object, go back to Blend and release it. Let's say I wanted to modify these things here. I can click on this, and then I could open up my brush area. Go to brushes. I'm going to go to the artistic brushes, and I'm going to go and pick some calligraphy brushes. So I can kind of change the tips of these ones if I wanted to. You're not thickness and thinness of the line. You can easily do that. Shift select all these again, and then I can go and make that blend and see what happens there. So you can do all sorts of cool things. I find it easier if I turn these off and then work up different things separately rather than being too distracted by all of them on at the same time. I'm going to make another layer here, and I'm going to say brush test. I think watercolor brushes, if you're making something abstract looking, work really well. Go to a slightly darker one and then stroke that away. And I could go here and then do another stroke. So the nice thing about when you make a brush stroke here, I can select it, and then I can go in and I can pick different colors. I can change that color at any time. You make that stroke, it's on a path, and then you can just select a different color very quickly. The cool thing about all these watercolor things, you can see there's different kind of shapes within the stroke. So what if I wanted to change these different things and make like a rainbow here? I can go here, select the stroke, go up to Object, Path, and then I can outline the stroke. So you can see that it takes all those different areas of the stroke and then makes them into shapes. It groups everything together. Go down here into the individual area, and you can see when I'm on my white arrow tool, it selects the different area, right? And then I can go and change that color if I want to. I'm going to turn that off, and then 3D test. Remember, I could go up here, take an ellipse tool. You go to Effect, here's the 3D area, and you have this extrude bevel or revolve. You can try the extrude bevel on that, go in here, and then you can explore this area here. You can even go more options. I could also go into the pen tool, go back up to Effect, playing around with the 3D. I could try Revolve to see if that does anything. It actually revolves this around in some cool way. Right? Move that around, go OK. And at any time, I can change the color of that object. So now I've got some cool 3D shapes to play around with in my abstract design if I wanted. I'm going to turn all this other stuff back on and see where I want to go with it. I'm just going to go point by point. Here's the 3D test I did by going up here into the 3D area. The brush test showing you watercolor, and then the object, path, the outline stroke area, and then all the blend options. So it's all under Object, Blend in here. And that's it for a kind of rundown on what you could be doing with abstract stuff in Illustrator.